Tonight, my thoughts are with the young generation, and I hope I can provoke you to think about a catastrophe we are staring at. In recent years, I have watched many clips of young men and women consumed in drug and substance abuse, staggering across towns and villages as they leave their local dens. As they get back home very early in the morning, I have listened to stories of distraught parents wailing and lost in deep thoughts about their sons and daughters who have lost it. Some have lost their lives to toxic substances sold for profit. Recently, I have listened to stories of how bad the situation is getting in schools, of learners lost to drug abuse, of secondary schools where smoking of bhang, or is it ndukulu, mambichwa, ngwai, or blunt, name them, is now more fashionable. Call it cool. It is the in thing. It is how you make it. Of how teenagers now share the puff like the infamous puff, puff, pass. Of how high schools are becoming dens of highness, and the teachers can do nothing about it. Not because they do not care anymore, but a menace has simply gotten out of hand. We live in what I would call a high society. Statistics from the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, show that 10% of the Kenyan population use at least one drug or substance. It gets more interesting that nearly 24 in every 100 workers in the public sector are users of alcohol, whether legal or illicit. That 2 in every 100 workers in the public sector are users of cannabis. But did you know that the younger generation of between 15 and 24 years, meaning those in high schools and colleges, abuse cannabis more than the older ones? Nearly 3 in every 100 such citizens are using cannabis. NACADA puts cannabis lifetime prevalence in schools at 7.5%. Assuming there are 4 million children in secondary schools, then it means that at least 300,000 of them have used bhang at least once while in school. Broken down in a school of 1,000 students, at least 75 have been involved. These are children. I find it not surprising that more than half of the KCSE class of 2022 scored a D+ and below. That a whole 40% of the class scored a D plain, D-, or grade E, meaning just 1 point on average, 1. I don't mean to say they are drug abusers, but school culture has a major impact on the grade culture. We live in a society of fewer and fewer role models. In our families, we live with parents, uncles, and aunts who are so consumed in the substance abuse. Last week, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua led a leaders' meeting in Mount Kenya region to find solutions to the alcohol and drug abuse menace there. Several ideas were floated on how to crack hard on illegal alcohol brewing dens, of how the National Government Administration officers will enforce the law. But who will enforce the law in our young citizens? When teachers are too cautious to intervene or resist to interfere? When parents are perennially defending their children with their all when called to disciplinary hearings? When parents and guardians are no longer devoting time with their children for guidance and simply parenting? NACADA says that over 500,000 people are hooked to cannabis. 431,000 of them are experiencing cannabis-related disorders, more than half of them being at a severe stage. The same authority states that out of 3.2 million users of alcohol, over 80% have experienced alcohol use-related disorders, with 1.4 million being diagnosed to be severe disorders. We live in a world where county governments in Kenya do not bother invest in rehabilitation centers, but they are eager to collect licensing fees from liquor selling outlets. We live in a world where 9 out of every 10 rehabilitation centers are privately owned and run. We live in a world where seeking help in a rehab is stigmatized and becomes the talk of town. A world where friends will walk away from one of their own when they are in substance trouble. When you lose the young and energetic minds to alcohol, cannabis, tobacco, and other substances, who will build the nation? How shall we expand the economy? How shall we build a society of providers and not dependents? And that It's just my sense tonight.